Good morning, everyone. Welcome to our PatternFly community meeting. This is the second one we've hosted, and we are hosting them monthly. So tune back in at the end of every month on Tuesdays, and we'll catch you up on everything that we've been up to on the PatternFly project. And in these meetings, we'll be covering what contributors have been working on, both internal to the project and outside of the project. So it should be a really good time to be together and plugged into what we're working on month to month, with lots of updates mixed in. And we'll post these on the PatternFly channel on YouTube. So they are definitely available to share, and the slides are available too. All right, so for our agenda today, first we'll cover what's new, and then Ryan has joined us today from the OpenShift team to talk about what they've been working on with visual regression testing and nightly builds. And then we'll have a design update, and also we'll talk about what's coming up, and I'll show you where we're tracking our work. Finally, we should have plenty of time for Q&A. All right, so to start us off with what's new, in our last community meeting, we covered that we would be switching the website to patternfly.org. We would be switching to our new design, so that is now live. And can you see that I'm sharing the website right now? Great, thank you. I can see the nod, so that's helpful. So this new website covers everything that is new to PatternFly, and we have this Get in Touch page as well that I'll point out, where we try to make it really easy to get in touch with us. So you could reach us via Slack, the mailing list, the forum, or the blog. And again, all of our design guidelines and documentation are here on this site. So we really encourage you to use this site rather than some of our more documentation-centric project-based sites that maybe you had used in the past. So I would now default to patternfly.org. And yeah, if you see things that you want to features, or if you have feedback, I would definitely start a conversation on the forum about it, which is linked here on this page. Or you could go ahead and file an issue on GitHub on our patternfly.org repo. That's a little bit about that. And Michael's going to cover Dark Nav opt-in and in-page wizard demo. Michael, would it be best if I drive, or would you like to drive for this?
I can drive. I've got the documentation up with some examples, so I'd like to show those.
Great.
All right, let me share my screen. Can you see this now?
Yes, we can.
Okay, great. All right, so first I'll cover the dark navigation update. So we've implemented a dark version of the navigation into PatternFly 4, and it's currently an opt-in solution, so you don't get it by default, but you can get it if you're using core by adding classes to existing components, or in React you can add props to components and get that desired layout. I'll go ahead and show a demo of what it looks like all put together. And so this is just our standard page component. This update includes updating two things in PatternFly to achieve this layout. First is the page component's sidebar element. So the sidebar area of the page will now be this, this dark color with a dark background. And so that's update number one. Update number two is to the navigation component itself. And you would add your classes or props to both of those components to get to opt into the dark navigation. This is just one example of our navigation, but it works with all versions of the vertical navigation that you would put in the sidebar. I'll cover the React documentation because that's a little more all-encompassing. So for the page component, to update the sidebar to use the dark theme, you just use a theme prop, and the value of the theme prop is dark for the page sidebar element. In core, what that translates to is adding a class of PFM dark to the sidebar, the PFC page underscore sidebar element in the page component. And with the navigation, the theme prop and value is the same, theme dark, and you just add this to the top level navigation component, and in core that translates to the same thing, PFM dark on the navigation component. And that's basically it. So here again is the example of what it looks like. Looks pretty great. Then next, we added an in-page variation of our wizard. So previously it was only available in a modal. Now this is a variation of the wizard that's designed to be placed inside of the page, but you can place it in basically any container, and it will just occupy the available space of the container. And this is, again, the React documentation with an example for this variation of the component. To opt in to this layout of the wizard component, the prop is in page. And you can just set that to true. That changes the layout to look like this. And in core, this property translates to PFM in dash page. And you just apply that to the top level wizard component. And here is an example where you see both the dark navigation sidebar and the in-page wizard variation. Pretty much it.
Great, thanks, Michael. Okay, I'm gonna steal the share. Okay. Should be back on the presentation now. I'm pulling up Spinner here. We need to correct this warning that's coming up for Spinner, so ignore that. Spinner is ready to use. It lives in our experimental category of our site. And if you want to learn a little bit more about experimental and our experimental components, we did cover that in our last PatternFly community meeting, and I would really encourage you to look through those slides and learn a little bit more about that. But all you need to know for today is that Spinner is available and ready to use. And with this particular spinner, you get the sense of the interaction and design here, and then also the props as listed below. The other thing I'm going to cover is Leftaligned on modal. This is an opt-in feature, and what you'll notice here is that the buttons on the modal are now left aligned. And we did publish a blog post about this to talk a little bit about why we moved towards this change. So if you want to check that out, I've linked that in the slides, and it's a really informative post, so I really encourage you to take a look. One thing that you'll notice about this opt-in feature alert, and you'll see this across a handful of our components now, is that it tells you how to opt in by using which props. So I would take a look at this today, and again, please let us know if you have any questions around like trying to pull this in as an opt-in feature. All right, and I'll hand it off to Zach to talk about his Webpack wiki entries. Say that 5 times
Hello.
fast.
Yeah. All right. Gonna share my screen. Can I replace you?
Go for it.
Right. So the issue that needs addressing for many products that use Webpack is how to include only the parts of PatternFly that you're using. So I have core pulled up here, and core includes a lot of assets that are included in style sheets by default, but that you might not use. And one of the most recent things is the fonts. We have 2 versions of the fonts. We have Overpass and Red Hat Display. And if you just have your Webpack set up to copy all the assets that the CSS uses, which is the default way Webpack is set up, you're going to end up with both Overpass and Red Hat display in your bundle. And that's a lot of space that this font takes up that you might not be using. So I wrote a little wiki entry on how to exclude it. You have to use a null loader and then exclude the one that you don't want. And this way, your bundle stays smaller. And while I was at it, I also went and combed through how to disable our style injection for React. And this entry already existed, but I kind of updated it a little based on what I learned from here. And that's pretty much it. Keep your bundles small.
Great, thank you, Zach. And I wanted to correct something I said earlier because I'm about to pass it off to Ryan. Ryan is here from the Insights team, and Ryan's going to be sharing a little bit of information about visual regression testing with nightly builds. So I'll pass it off to Ryan.
Awesome, thank you. So can everybody see my screen?
We can.
Okay, cool. So yeah, like you said, my name is Ryan. I work on Insights and the cloud.redhat.com platform team. And I'm going to be talking a little bit about how we do visual regression testing and how we incorporate that with our nightly builds. So the big problem that we were trying to face with this was that we, as a platform, and the platform team that I'm on, have many sub-applications. And all of these sub-applications have their own repositories in GitHub. They have their own developers. They have their own build pipelines. They can do whatever they want to in their applications. And we needed a way to sort of unify everything. And we wanted to be able to test all the new PatternFly packages to see what would break and what's not going to break and how API changes and style changes and et cetera. So luckily, as a platform, we give every team a builder tool. And through this builder tool, we can sort of control the pipelines of builds. So because of that, we can do this really cool thing and do nightly builds. And so what happens is Travis, on their build, will kick off our pipeline. And when it builds, it essentially just installs a whole bunch of new NPM packages and then rebuilds our front end with those NPM packages. We get a notification that gets sent to Slack. And then this is the URL. So it's just nightly.cloud.redhat.com. If you're on the VPN, you can go in there. You can play around with it. And we also send out a Patternfly JSON blob with each build that sort of says what packages we're being built with. And so this is like the first cool thing that I'm talking about. And then the next problem is like, how do you actually incorporate that? And how do you let people see the differences from day to day? So we use this tool called Percy. And Percy is just a visual regression testing framework that's built on top of this thing called Percy script. Percy script is just built on top of a thing called Cypress. And so if you've done any end-to-end testing with Cypress, it's essentially the same kind of API. But the problem that we were trying to face is that we want to give visual designers and UX designers and stakeholders that aren't necessarily in an engineering-focused program the ability to see what has changed from day to day. And so that's sort of where people ask, why don't you just use like a jest test or something like that? Is because we don't want to have people who have to look at code when they don't want to look at code kind of thing. And so this was our solution to doing so. And so what happens is that every night with this Travis build, Percy will kick off its Percy script tests, and it sort of just takes screenshots from page to page. And because of this, we can sort of compare what's going on. So you can see in these screens right now, I changed my avatar at the top, and so you can see that the rest of the page is grayed out, except for that little avatar change, which is going to be highlighted red. And using Percy script, we can test right now we're testing at 3 different screen sizes and 2 different browsers. So we're testing in Firefox and Chrome, and we're also testing at a mobile, a tablet, and an ultra-wide breakpoint. And so now I'm going to sort of show off a little bit of a live demo, or attempt to show off at a live demo what we do. So I'm running a local environment right now, which is just this ci.foo, which is going to emulate what is currently showing on our platform. So you can see this is just like a regular dashboard platform login thing. I can log in here. You'll get some new tiles that show up. And what I'm going to do is, just for the sake of a demo, I'm going to add like some crazy padding to all of these cards. So I'm going to add this like big 50 pixel padding so you can see there's a huge change that happened there. And if you weren't to catch this, now I'm going to spin up the Percy test. So we're going to do an npm run snapshot. And this is going to pull up a headless Chrome browser, but what I'm going to do is I'm just going to show you what's going on with this entire thing. So it's just going to go through and it's going to log in and it's going to do all of the click events that we've described. And as it goes from page to page, it's going to keep taking snapshots. So you can see the Percy logs coming over through here. Takes a snapshot, takes a snapshot. And then when it's all finished, it's going to show up with this link. And so if I hit that, it will process all of these snapshots. So it's going to take a second, sorry. And once it processes these differences, you can see very clear what the differences are. So it'll highlight red, so you can unclick, see that there's changes. And then you can click, and you can actually see what the differences are. Like I said, highlighted red. If there's no changes, it's not going to worry about it. But if there are changes, you can see that red outline. And like I said, we can test at different screen sizes, so we can see what happens at a smaller screen size. We can switch over to Firefox and see what happens in Firefox. That way, if there's a big change that only affects one browser or one screen size or something like that, we can acknowledge it. And we'll get a notification about all these, and it'll let us know, were there any breaking changes? Is everything okay? And it'll ask for our approval. We can also hook this up in a regular repository and just have it test on every PR or every push or every merge to master. And we can hook it in there, so we have to approve everything manually if there was some kind of drastic change. But that's all I have, so I don't know if anybody has any questions. But happy to answer anything that anybody wants to ask. Okay, well, that's all I have. So thank you.
Great. Thank you. All right, and I'll pass it off to Matt Carano to talk about a design update to compact pagination.
Yeah, so this is a pretty straightforward, but I think will be a very helpful update that we made. You'll see where it says current version of pagination, which is our current pagination component that's supported in the library. And when we started, our team started using this in the context of a toolbar, it became clear very quickly that this just takes up a lot of space, a lot of horizontal space. So we're basically introducing a compact version of the pagination, which is shown below. And to do that, we've simply decided that the essential and most important elements there are the ability to see which items are in view, in this case 1 of 10 out of 37, the ability to change the number of items available per page, and to simply be able to go forward and back between pages. So the other elements of the pagination control above are definitely nice to have, but I think designers, when applying this, can make the trade-off between size and capabilities. I should also note that if you want, you can use the compact version in the toolbar above a list or table, and then you can still use that full pagination in the footer below the table which would still provide access to things like going to the first page, last page, or entering a specific page number to jump to a page. So that's it. Anybody have any questions? Okay, I'll turn it back to you, Rachel.
Thanks, Matt. And Kyle's going to cover an update to Red Hat font.
Thanks, Rachel. So many have heard me talk about this a lot, so I'll just give a little bit of history about what's going on. So originally when we started PatternFly, we had a font called Overpass, and Overpass was a font that we made quite a while ago, more than 5 years ago, specifically for use on our applications, and it mirrored some of the Red Hat branding and things like that. So Red Hat sponsored that, and eventually the web changed, and that font had a lot of issues, specifically in the Linux browser and Firefox. There's alignment issues and things like that, and it was getting worse and worse. So as the web changed, the font needed to be updated. So with Red Hat Rebrand, they sponsored a new font, one that's meant to be used in web and print in small sizes, and it render well on the Linux browser. It's re-hinted, and they worked on the characters to open them up a little bit more, make it a little bit more readable. And that font is called the Red Hat font. And there are two different fonts that we use, a display version and then a text version. So we have a combination of that we use throughout PatternFly for the different title areas, and we have it aligned with all of our variables. So it's a pretty smooth transition. Even if you're building some custom components, this will allow you just to make a pretty easy update. And you can see here on the left, we're using Overpass, and then on the right, we're using the Red Hat font. Characters a little bit more rounded, as I said, a little bit more open, but largely there's not a huge difference. Both sans serif font, very simple, so it shouldn't blow up any of your designs that you're working on or any of the designs you're building. But it is just a bit wider. And that's really the biggest change. So we right now are working on transitioning I think the workspaces are already transitioned to the new font, and the website, they're working on transitioning it now, and I believe in this sprint. And Rachel, you can verify that, but that is
correct.
it. And we do have it available as an opt-in, just like we talked about with the pagination. That's it.
Okay, thank you, Kyle. All right, so quickly I'll cover what's in progress for our current milestone. And if you want to be able to access this milestone at any time to be able to see what we're up to, you can even follow along with our release schedule. It's published here on the milestone. So how you would reach this milestone is, let's say you're on the React homepage and you click issues, like you're normally looking at the issues. You click into milestones and see whichever one we're in currently. So some things that will be coming up are things like our overflow component and enhancements to App Launcher. We'll have a lot of enhancements coming on this sprint, and also every sprint we work to address bugs that would be blockers as well. And so I really encourage you to jump in to the milestone if you want to learn a little bit more and look into things maybe we didn't potentially surface today. And if you have any questions about this milestone, please let me know. And again, we can always chat more about it on the forum as well. And that's it for our community meeting today. Are there any questions? We can spend some time now going a little bit deeper into the topics we covered today. Yeah, I'll open it up to you all. Any questions for our participants? Okay,
Hey,
thank you.
this is
Yeah, go right ahead.
Did you want to talk a little bit about the making changes for charts?
If you would like to cover those, I would say go right ahead. That sounds awesome.
I know we briefly talked about it, but I didn't see it on the schedule. So um, I'll try to be brief. See if I can steal your share.
Yeah, you should be able to.
Okay. So Victory had a new major release, much anticipated. The feature that we wanted from this release was the ability to constrain tooltips to the SVG. So you can see this little example up here showing you how when you move around the chart, the tooltips stay within the boundaries of the SVG. Whereas before, the tooltip would overflow. So you could potentially get into some scenarios where the chart's at near the edge of the page, and you could, the tooltip would overflow and possibly get truncated. You wouldn't see the whole tooltip. But Victory added this new property called constrained divisible area. So this kind of solves that issue. There's workarounds that you could do. You could make your chart larger to accommodate the tooltips. You can add padding to accommodate the tooltips, but this is really the feature that everybody wanted from Victory. So as part of that, Victory had to introduce some breaking changes. So what Victory did was kind of minor, depending on your point of view, but you can see the labels that are used for tooltips. You can see the old syntax and the new syntax. So that's definitely a breaking change. It's a small one, but still a breaking change. So Victory is now including, when it calculates the position of the tooltips, it's including the padding that's given to the charts. It's all great and fine, but that broke some of our custom charts. If I scroll down here, you can see for donut utilization, this is a screenshot of the tooltips not quite looking right. You can see the position of the tooltips is a little bit off with the bullet chart. And these are custom charts, so their breaking changes didn't really affect, charts like area or line or bar or stack. These changes really affected our custom charts because we were depending on certain positioning for our tooltips, and when they changed it, obviously it broke. So that's one thing we had to resolve, in addition to changing the label syntax. So this is the PR that I put up for to resolve some of the breaking changes. But I wanted to mention, in addition to the labels, like I said, the breaking changes affected our custom components like donut chart and donut utilization bullet. So previously we had some properties in there called, for example, like pie height and pie width. If you were using a legend, you can use a legend standalone, but we had properties where you could provide some data to the legend, and we would output the legend for you. We could center it underneath the chart. We could position it to the left or to the right, vertical, horizontal. But to accommodate, just like with the tooltips, you have to accommodate the legends. You have to provide extra space so that the legends can fit inside the SVG along with the chart. So we were doing that with properties like pie chart and pie width, donut height, donut width, and same thing with bullet. So we've removed those and we've refactored the components that you use padding. So just like other charts like area, line, bar, they all already use padding to adjust the size of the chart inside the SVG, so you have room for other things like labels and legends. So now the other charts like pie chart and donut chart, they follow the same I think use the same property. So everything uses padding now instead of the extra donut height and donut width properties. So we removed that. That's our breaking change. So Victory introduced the breaking change for labels, and we replaced those donut height, donut width properties with you just use padding now, just like the other charts. So that's all I really wanted to say. Just giving you a heads up. But just like Victory was saying that these breaking changes are a bit of manual adjustment, but I think that will make label positioning and legend positioning a lot easier in the long run. So yeah, that's it, unless somebody has some questions.
Thanks so much for sharing, Dan. That was an awesome explanation. And
Sure.
I'm just checking our chat, everyone. Okay, no questions in there. Thanks for all the encouragement for our presenters. All right, any questions from the group on anything we covered today? All right, thanks so much for joining, everyone. We will have an upcoming demo, and then we'll have our community meeting at this time next month. So be on the lookout for both. Thanks.